you listening to me? But you need to understand. See, this is why the church is all messed up. This is why pastors get all freaked out about bishops, or evangelists or teachers get all freaked out about the bishop or about apostles, because they don't know the office. They don't know the officer, what the dimension is, and what the sphere is. Once you know their dimension, you won't feel so threatened. It's like a job. You know, if I called in a contractor and I called a guy that's an electrician, I don't think any of us will get all bent out of shape here. If I called an electrician to come and fix these lights or fix something in the wall, I don't think we'd get bent out of shape, would we? No. But we would get bent out of shape if we didn't know what he was coming to do and he was going to come and take our job. So the lack of knowledge is what causes us to back up. And so when we talk about apostolic to other people, I'm sitting under an apostolic or an apostle and I'm learning the word, the first thing goes up is walls. People are going to say, well, why you have to sit under that? God said we don't have to sit under apostle. They just start going off. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because they don't know the office and they don't know the dimension of that. I just wanted to mention that. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
I didn't mean to go too far. What's that?
Preach out.
Anyways, we need to have an understanding. I mean, with everything we do, we need to have wisdom and get an understanding. Amen? And all that, get an understanding. Amen? And so we need to get an understanding. Somebody say, get an understanding.
Get an understanding.
Can I say that visitation and revival is all determined on what the priests are doing? Visitation and revival is all determined by what the priesthood is doing. You're not going to have revival by the people. Revival comes through priesthood. Amen. Amen? Whatever the priesthood is doing will determine where that place is going or where that ship is headed. Are you hearing me? And so if you see a priesthood that is basically there's nothing being developed in the priesthood, then you're pretty far from revival, because you need the priesthood to have the pattern right so the glory will fall. Amen? In today's society, we think if we could get a bunch of people together and get an awesome band, we're going to have revival. Are you listening to me? Listen, we may have some good baptisms and some good salvations, which is great, but revival is when God comes to sit amongst his people. Amen? And so you'll know what's going on by the priesthood in the house. Just like my brothers in the military. You know what's happening in the military when they start loading tanks up on the train and they start getting things ready. You're like, man, something's coming down the road. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And so you know what's going on by the headship. If the headship ain't moving, chances are there ain't nothing going to happen. Amen? And so if they're playing religion, then you won't see a pattern. And so usually that's where they begin to pervert the presence of God by using props or dynamic personalities to control the crowd, or they produce programs to keep the people busy. Amen. But Psalms 92:13 says that those that are planted in the house of the Lord, those that are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of their God. So if we're planted in the house of God, we're going to flourish in his courts. Somebody say his courts.
His courts.
We got 30, 60, 100-fold dimensions, which are the courts of God. Amen? So if we're going to be planted in the house of God, where's the house? In the Old Testament, what was the house of God? The tabernacle, right? Mm-hmm. If we're going to be planted in the house of God, then we're going to flourish in every court. I got news for you. God designed us to flourish in every dimension. He didn't call us as sons and daughters of God and say, stay out here. Don't come in the house because you got your feet dirty. Don't come in here because this or that. Are you hearing me? God designed us to flourish in his courts. I don't know a father that would not allow his children to come into their house and to go into the most holy place or go in any place of his house.
Amen.
God designed us to move throughout the courts of God. Can you say amen?
Amen.
And so if we're planted in the house of the Lord, we're going to flourish. Somebody say flourish.
Flourish.
We're going to grow. Somebody say grow.
Grow.
We're going to multiply. Somebody say multiply.
Multiply.
Somebody say mature.
Mature.
We're going to thrive.
We're going to thrive.
We're going to succeed. We're going to prosper. Amen? In the courts of God. Amen? And so the courts of God are the beginning of priesthood. See, so you're going to find about this ministry that God has given my wife and I command me. He's given us a mandate to teach on priesthood. That's our forte. God has called us to teach on priesthood. So priesthood is the beginning. This is the beginning of flourishing in the courts of God. You've got to understand this, amen? So priesthood is birthed out of the tabernacle. The tabernacle right here is a picture and a pattern of a birthing that is going to come forth in the priesthood. Amen? And so what we see going on in the tabernacle in the Bible is a picture of our operation and functionality as priests before God perpetually. So what happened in the old is a picture of what's going on in the new. Are you hearing me? Every dimension in the old is a dimension that we walk in the new. Amen? Amen. And so our form is shifting from outer court expressions. Here's our outer court expression. This is where the church is this is where the church was at. Amen. This is actually, and I'm going to get into this in a few minutes. But we flourish from the outer court. We're shifting from outer court expression and priesthood and taking on a pattern of the heavens. In other words, the